Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another commentary. I'm Captain Logan. I got Adam here.
Yeah.
And Brandon is also hanging out with us. Adam has been asking me to do this commentary for months now. And Adam, what are we going to watch and chat about today?
We're watching Walt Disney Pictures' The Rocketeer.
From 1991, directed by the same guy who made Captain America, the First Avenger. What is his name?
Joe Johnson.
Joe Johnson?
I believe so.
Is that right?
I think so.
Yeah. This is a movie that I like a lot, but never think to go back and look at. I gave this a glowing review when I did the Superhero Rewind. This is a movie that Vince also likes a whole lot. Yeah. I kind of wish we had him here with us today.
Eric likes it too, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think Eric's also a big fan of this too. Yeah, and Vince actually used to, if he doesn't still, collect the Rocketeer.
Oh, really?
He actually has a little bit of a Rocketeer collection. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of the few superhero things like this that I've actually never looked at any of the comics for.
I've looked at a few of the comics. They are not as PG as this movie.
I knew that about it. Yeah. And for people who are not in the know, this is a throwback movie based on a throwback comic. So the Rocketeer is not a thing that existed in that era.
Right.
It's an 80s comic that goes back to that.
Right. It's retro. Yeah. But the love interest that Jennifer Connelly plays in this movie, basically in the comic, she was like basically Betty Page.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's basically what she was.
Yeah, well, that's way watered down in this. Because in this, she's kind of perfect.
Right.
So anyway, we're going to go ahead and watch it and chat about it with you. And this is not a movie that Brandon knows very well, but he just wanted to hang out and watch it with us. So here he is.
Yeah.
So you've seen this, Brandon, but you don't remember anything about it?
It's been more than 20 years since I've seen this movie.
Do you remember all the Trek alum in this movie?
No.
There's a whole bunch of Trek alum. We'll talk about that. Do you remember Alan Arkin? Alan Arkin's in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So, yeah, it's going to be hard not to spend the whole time just talking about cast and stuff, because everybody in this you know from something, nearly.
Yeah. I watched this movie a lot growing up. It was a favorite movie of mine.
Adam quotes this and compares it to things all the time.
Yes.
kind of like Mike from Red Letter Media. That's a thing that you and that guy have in common. Yeah, he brings this up all the time on videos.
I would say that the biggest way in which I've seen this movie is in lots of little bits every time it aired on TV, because it used to air on TV a fair bit.
On the Disney Channel and stuff.
And stuff like that, and I would get to see it. And
well, let's go ahead and jump straight into it, shall we? If you want to watch it with us, it is currently on Disney Plus. It wasn't streaming anywhere for the longest time, but now you can watch it there. And this is, I'm sure, the same transfer they used for the Blu-ray.
It is. I'm sure it is. I saw your thing earlier. If it hadn't been, it would be the non-anamorphic Laserdisc transfer that was on the DVD.
Which is what I used for the Rewind, and I had never seen it look this good.
Yeah.
And I watched it on Disney Plus, and I was like, oh, Adam's right. That transfer is amazing. Yeah. So anyway, get out your DVD, your Blu-ray, or Disney Plus, however you want to watch it. Maybe not DVD.
No.
Try not to watch it that way if you can get away with it.
If you must.
did they put this out on HD DVD?
Disney was
probably
not part
didn't.
of that consortium, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. Because remember, Disney always kind of had their own.
Yeah, they were on the Blu-ray side, I think.
Yeah.
Is that what killed HD DVD, Disney?
I don't know.
Probably not, but they might have had something to do with it. They own everything.
The format wars.
Yeah.
Everybody get ready to press play when I say now. Here we go. Everybody please press play right now. Adam sent me a message the other day and was like, hey, Cap, besides The Mandalorian, is there anything good on Disney Plus? And I should have said, well, your favorite movie's on Disney Plus.
It's like, I own that on Blu-ray.
So how many times have you seen this?
Oh, I don't know.
Like, was this one of those that you watched just, on repeat as a kid, just constantly? How come?
I just liked it. I always liked the 1940s kind of thing. I was a big Indiana Jones fan, too.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because I know you weren't a big superhero guy.
No. But I just like the whole 1940s pulpiness of it and the kind of Art Deco aesthetic and also the Nazi bad guys. Oh, spoiler alert. And well,
that's one of the big draws for this.
Vintage aviation and all that stuff. Yeah.
And a lot of the cool, surprises in this, the reasons you'd come to look at this in the first place, the movie kind of saves for halfway through or later.
Right, exactly.
You don't know that the main threat is a Nazi until the third act.
Yeah, exactly.
You think that you're just dealing with gangsters and
right.
some, flamboyant, egocentric
Errol Flynn wannabe guy.
maniac guy. Yeah. And I'm sure that whole thing is based on, rumors and conspiracies that Errol Flynn was a Nazi. Wasn't that a whole thing?
I think so. I don't know about Errol Flynn, but there's probably some other people that were Nazi sympathizers. And
I don't think he was, but I thought there was like a whole rumor or conspiracy idea that he was. But
so this plane, the GB, was actually a real plane.
Oh, wow.
This one is not. This is a model, I guess,
Sure.
or a reproduction.
recreation.
Yeah, but it was a real racing plane back in the 30s.
That's very cool.
a lot of this feels really authentic.
Yeah.
And so, like, you have a romanticized vision of 38.
Exactly.
But you also have a lot of trappings that feel like really believable and realistic.
There's a great James Horner score here.
Yes. The Horner score that this is most reminiscent to or reminiscent of is Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
If you go back to the Field of Dreams score, there's a sting in that whenever, like, when the lights on the baseball field come up, and you guys watched that movie with me.
Yeah.
And like whenever they would do like major things with the ghosts and stuff, there'd be this piano sting that goes BOOM, and that's all over this movie.
There's a
There is exactly zero Wrath of Khan in this movie.
There is not. There is some Wrath of Khan.
Is there really? Where?
All right. There is what I call the James Horner.
I did not notice any.
Ba-da-dum.
Is there some of that in there?
Yes, that is. So
is it like sinister bad guy stuff?
Kind of, or it's like the scene when they're at
is it with the
when they're at the Griffith Park at the end and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So there's a little bit but that was in Wrath of Khan. That was in Apollo 13. It was in this.
I thought maybe I missed something with the big like James Bond Jaws bad guy. I thought maybe that's where it was.
No, I don't know about that. So this is.
I am kind of a claustrophobe. And I could not do
scared
this.
of being that. Yeah, I would be scared.
Every time they do, they do that profile shot, or that front profile shot, or not
Look
profile,
at
but that front shot, that bothers me.
Yeah,
I can't handle that.
Yeah,
I'd call it port landscape.
So our first Trek alumni in this, of course, is Billy Outrageous O'Connor. Campbell.
Oh, that's who this
is. It's the Outrageous O'Connor.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've really seen him in much else.
He was like trying to become a big star. He actually was,
and he's excellent in this.
And he was actually considered in like the shortlist for the Riker role on Next Gen.
Really?
Yeah.
He should have had a bigger career.
Yeah.
He's wonderful in this.
Yeah.
He definitely carries this movie.
Yeah.
He's pretty outrageous here.
He seems like a real old school action star. So Alan Arkin is Captain Invincible in Return of Captain Invincible, which is my favorite B movie of all time.
I have not seen this.
Oh, have you still not seen it?
I've not seen this. I know Alan Arkin.
We're going to do it soon because I keep meaning to show you that. Yeah, and I've seen him in other stuff.
A lot of other things. Catch-22, yeah.
But I wanted to make sure and bring it up here because there are a couple of weird parallels to Captain Invincible in this.
Really?
And I'll point out a couple of things.
It's going to shake.
And this would have only been like 5 or 6 years after that movie, too.
Yeah. So, 2 men in this scene were Trek alumni. This guy here was the father of the guy killed by the Wesley Crusher's Nova Squadron or whatever.
That is who that is. Now that you say that, I recognize him. And then Max Grodachek. Yep, there he is.
Nice.
Boogie.
Yeah, that's Ron from DS9. He shows up in quite a few early to mid 90s movies in kind of small roles. Not throwaway bit parts. He always has kind of bit parts, but he always has dialogue. Right. Like he's usually a character that
crazy.
matters for the plot, but doesn't get a whole lot to do.
Why would you shoot at the plane? I guess he thought he was coming at him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was an accident. I don't know how he wound up shooting upward. I guess, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then that oil's gonna get all over his cockpit.
That's a great shot too. When he has to punch through that glass there.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And then he punches through the glass. Yep.
Oh dang. There's the movie from later that they're gonna go see.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, there's some really nice bits of continuity
Yeah.
and setup and foreshadowing and stuff throughout the movie. So I watched this with Jason this morning. He hadn't seen this movie, and during I want to say the scene where they're in the high-profile restaurant, Jason goes, "Dad, how is this a superhero movie?" And about it's almost halfway through the movie before it really is a straight-up superhero movie.
Right.
And that's one of the things I really like about it, is that it's obviously a couple of other things before that. You know what he said? He said it feels more like, remember, this is my 9-year-old.
Right.
He goes, it feels more like Top Gun than a superhero movie.
I could see that.
And it obviously already has those kind of pulpy sensibilities even before we get to the superhero suit and the superhero tropes. But there's a moment where it will immediately switch into superhero gear, where now he's got a secret identity and he's keeping it from his girlfriend, and you know all those kinds of tropes, which we start to turn on their heads and subvert pretty quickly, because he's a superhero, but he's not good at it.
Right.
He's not going to keep his identity for any amount of time.
Right, exactly.
You get that really nice bit with Jennifer Connelly where he's like, I'm the Rocketeer. He's got that I'm Batman moment. And she's like, who the heck is that?
Who's that?
Yeah. But it's a classic aviator movie before it's a superhero film.
I love that they switch with the vacuum cleaner at the beginning there that he just did, and these guys are just like, oh, that's it. I guess that's what we were looking for.
And now that you say that, it's really funny they do that right after the Hoover line.
Yeah.
You get the Hoover line, and then there's a vacuum.
Hoover vacuum, right.
Yeah. That's great. I didn't notice any product placement until this viewing, but there's a big Sun-Made Raisins sign.
Sun-Made Raisins. I never noticed that until 2 seconds ago.
Yeah.
I never know. Yeah.
Well, we're watching on a bigger screen.
Yeah.
Alan Arkin is great in everything he's in.
know.
He's especially good in this.
Yeah.
As kind of the father figure
I feel
guy.
like I've seen this guy before somewhere. I don't know. The short.
I was trying to
FBI
place him
guy.
too, and
I don't know.
I'm not sure. Yeah. I'll warn you
And is
guys.
that
We're going
William
to be
Sanderson?
doing. Who is William Sanderson? I don't
William
know.
Sanderson is, well, he was on many things, but he was Larry. This is my brother.
Yeah.
From
We've
Newhart.
made that
Yeah.
joke in things. Yeah.
My brother Daryl. My other brother
My
Daryl.
other brother Daryl.
Yeah.
Which showed up in multiple sitcoms, if memory serves.
Right.
Wasn't that like a gag that would like tie some sitcoms together that
It
you
might have
didn't
been,
think were in
yeah.
the same universe,
Yeah.
but then the Daryl thing shows up?
It may have been.
So one of the things that I really appreciated about this movie is how it is, it's a throwback to old movies. It's kind of, like, organized and structured.
Right.
And even, obviously, dialogue-wise, written like it's a movie that could have been made in
right
38.
then. Right.
While it's at the same time trying to be a fun throwback to that time. So like it's a movie about that time that also feels like it could have been made in that time.
Right, exactly.
Except with all the modern effects.
Exactly.
So you couldn't have made this movie
couldn't
in
have made
38
it
and made it look this
as
good,
good,
but you
but
could have
you
written
made
the
the same
script in
kind of-
38.
exactly, right.
With the exception of hindsight,
Right.
right? So there are obviously gags in this movie that are about things that we wouldn't have known back then that we know later. Here's Terry O'Quinn.
Yes.
So this is now, what, our 4th or 5th
Yes.
Trek alum already in
It
like
is.
10 minutes?
Right.
Yeah.
So
He's a great Howard Hughes.
So Terry O'Quinn playing Howard Hughes here. Couple of really interesting things about the Howard Hughes character and Terry O'Quinn. So first of all, Terry O'Quinn, as a lot of you guys will know, is John Locke in Lost. That's the biggest role he's probably known for. But he's also Admiral Pressman in the wonderful TNG episode Pegasus.
Exactly.
And he's playing almost a benevolent version of that character in this, in my opinion.
Right.
So he's playing a real life person. He's playing Howard Hughes in this. Both of those characters are dealing with what's up.
Oh, I was going to say one other Trek actor in this scene. That army guy right there. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure he was in a cop in The Big Goodbye.
Oh, okay.
In a hologram. But anyways, continue. Sorry.
I don't remember that because that's not an episode I ever go back to.
Yeah.
But his character in Pegasus, Pressman, is also dealing with an experimental piece of technology.
Exactly.
Good point.
This guy is a great actor. He was on Homicide: Life in the Street in the early
I know
90s.
I've seen him in
and
something
he's been in other
else.
stuff too. I cannot remember his name right now.
So this is a wonderful plight for our protagonist right away at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
I like that he doesn't crash the plane through some kind of incompetence.
Right. It was just random happenstance that, and now their livelihood is threatened, so he has to take on this role.
Yeah,
almost.
and this is the kind of coincidence that I can get behind,
Right.
where I complain a lot about contrivances and coincidences in movies. The setup here is that it was a crazy 1 in a million chance, and of
Right.
course those happen in real
Right.
life. And it's going to be his greatest misfortune and also bring him his greatest fortune simultaneously.
Right, exactly. I love this this old biplane that they gotta fly now for their for their clown act.
There's an old saying: "Good luck, bad luck, who knows."
This immediately makes these guys both just really sympathetic.
Right.
Where, like, this is out of their hands. There's nothing they could do about it. It's really believable that they're being
Right.
kind of blamed for a thing that they had no control over.
And they're very-
because of the way, like commerce and money works. Where it's
Exactly.
like, well, you are responsible for your own stuff. Nobody's going to give you a handout.
Right.
Nobody's going to
Exactly.
give you the money to fix these things, and you now owe people money. And like, what are you going
Right.
to do?
These guys are very blue collar compared to a lot of superheroes, especially like
Yeah,
of course,
especially at
Bruce
this point,
Wayne and
yeah.
stuff. Right.
Big reveal.
And this was back still during the Depression, and these guys in real life,
That's a really
people
good
doing
point.
aviation stuff like this would not have had a lot of money.
Well, and I think it's interesting that people all through this movie look down on them for not having a real job.
Right.
Where these guys have a passion and they're trying to
Right,
make their
trying to
living with it because they're not going to have the time to work on planes and
work a regular 9 to 5.
and exactly, yeah. So this is a typical superhero origin story in a lot of ways. It's the kind of origin that I always say, like with something like Batman Begins, is a real story and not just a thing that we pad out for 2 hours so that we can get to the real
Right.
story. This doesn't feel like a movie that is setting up anything.
No.
It doesn't want a sequel.
Right.
That's not to say that a sequel couldn't have worked, potentially,
Right.
and I'm sure that in the back of their minds, Disney was
thinking
kind of
about
hoping
it.
this
Right.
would turn into a franchise,
Right.
even in 91.
Right.
Everybody was looking for that superhero franchise after Batman 89.
Right.
This comes out only 2 years after that. I'm sure it gets greenlit partly because of the popularity of that movie.
Right.
And a lot of we were going curiously back to a lot of pulpish stuff right after
Right.
Batman. The Shadow comes out shortly after
Right.
this.
And the Phantom.
And, well, the Phantom is more mid-90s. Phantom's like 94, 95.
Okay.
but
The Shadow was
The Shadow is
than that?
earlier.
Oh,
Shadow's
okay.
like 93, 94.
Okay.
And then, around there. But this early, you've also got Dick Tracy.
Right,
And Dick
that's
Tracy
true.
was a success.
Right.
And this wasn't. And I think that's
Right.
really curious.
That's odd. And Dick Tracy is an odd film.
It's good.
It's
I
good.
I like it a lot, and this movie, of course, has some things in common with that.
Yeah.
And it's borrowing from some of the same kinds of places.
Here's another Trek alumni, Paul Sorvino, who played Nikolai Roshenko.
There you go.
And that
Wow.
Oh my!
weird.
Which is funny because he looks like he's aged about 10 years here, and that couldn't have been much
no,
before
I
then.
think this was at the same time. But
Yeah.
that was season 7. That was after this.
That was after this. He looks older here.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird.
Timothy Dalton is fantastic in this movie.
He's really good in this, yeah.
So he was still technically James Bond at this point.
Oh,
because
wow.
they had
'Cause
not they had not
They hadn't gotten to
gone to
Goldeneye
Brosnan yet.
Yeah.
But and it was in that weird limbo period with the legal issues and stuff.
Do you agree that a lot of the reason maybe this movie didn't perform was that it wasn't aimed at the right audience? I think part of the reason Dick Tracy did better than this was because it wasn't aimed as hard at kids. Like,
Right.
Dick Tracy did have merchandise for kids and things, but when you when you look at those trailers and stuff, at least from I'm going from memory right now.
It was more adult oriented.
I don't remember. They sold it on Madonna
Exactly.
and stuff. This movie didn't have a Madonna.
Right. I don't remember kids really watching Dick Tracy when I was a kid.
No, I think it was a lot of older folks that got that movie.
But this this was definitely more marketed towards children.
I think the Disney name hurt this movie. I really do. This was a weird studio to make this film.
They didn't have Miramax or anything at this time to put it under or anything like that. I don't know what other label they could. Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, because they did a wonderful job with it,
right?
But I wouldn't have sold it as a Disney thing, and I think they kind of did.
Right, exactly.
Even as a kid, I remember this being a Disney thing.
I think that this is a famous real. They filmed this in a real house. I want to say, but I swear I've seen this. I
have looked at exactly zero behind the scenes stuff on this movie.
I don't know that much about
the making of this. Yeah,
but I want to say that this I've seen this stuff before. These that pattern and stuff on the columns.
So I'm gonna argue that when he says rocket, they should be more confused as to what he's talking about than they are.
Right.
He's like, what we're going after is a rocket, like in the comic books, and they should be like, you mean like a thing that goes to space? Like what,
right.
What does rocket mean?
What does that mean? Right.
Yeah, they wouldn't understand.
I like that terminology. I like that they're not calling it a jetpack.
Right.
I like rocket.
Right. It's great when
And of course, obviously, everybody's calling it that because later somebody's got to come up with the name Rocketeer.
Right.
But I think that's probably right. I think that's probably what people would be calling it in 1938. But at some point, he needs to say that you strap on your back.
Right. I mean,
really?
Jets weren't really a thing until World War II.
Yeah.
Well, we're into World War II here, though.
This is before World War II, technically. They didn't really become a thing until near the end of the war.
They certainly weren't like a household name for technology yet.
But I mean, this is 38. The war has started.
Right.
Because the Nazis are. Right. I mean, the Nazis are the villains in this.
Right. They didn't have the jet airplanes until 43, I think.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like the lighting in this scene. We're trying to make it look like it's being lit up just by the lights in that car.
Yes.
You can, of course, tell the kind of lighting they've got to be doing because there's no way that those lights would create that much light.
Right, exactly.
But it looks really good.
It looks good. And I like
when movies think about that kind of thing. What is the source?
And
of
I like
the light?
that the statue they stole was a statue of Charles Lindbergh.
I didn't realize that.
This is so good. When they go out into the field looking for it. It's almost reminiscent of the scene in Back to the Future when they're waiting for the DeLorean to rematerialize and they have to get out of the way real fast. Yeah.
Now, I will say they got really, really lucky that it showed back up. And the movie could be over here.
Right, this could be it.
It flies off. They're like, well, and they do. They walk away. They're like, well, I guess it's not, or they're about to anyway. I guess it's not coming back. And then it comes back.
It's probably still dragging that stake. Or maybe not. It lost the stake somehow.
Well, it was... I could see it flying off.
Right.
As fast as it was moving.
Yeah.
And considering that it wasn't tethered to the other side.
Right.
So the turbojet was invented in 1939,
Okay.
and the first aircraft to fly under rocket power was in 1928.
Oh. So they say
so I feel dumb. It didn't even occur to me that, they're called different things because they are different things. A rocket pack and a jet pack are not the same thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This is not my area of expertise.
So they say it runs on alcohol.
It does.
Yes.
They did mention that earlier.
It's interesting to me. I don't know how that would work, but...
I don't either, but you have to do something like that for them to be able to run it because they don't have a lot of money.
Teeth and all.
And
That's
I mean,
true,
if
could it be that power, make that much thrust and stuff?
Yeah, they put it in. They put it in gasoline engines today.
I mean, they are running airplanes, so I guess it could have just run on standard gas.
Right.
Right.
I think it would need a lot more.
Sure, but they're looking for
This will
something you
burn
can
out
get
real
anyway.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
is the idea.
I don't think Jennifer Connelly was probably very old when she made this movie.
I was going to say, this is a very young Jennifer Connelly. I mean, most of the things I know her for are 10 years after this and later.
I mean, she had been in, like, Labyrinth before this.
Oh, wow!
Yeah.
And you know, this... She doesn't look that far away from what she looks like in that movie, because
Right.
this would have only been 3 or 4 years after that, right? Isn't Labyrinth like 87?
Something like that, yeah.
I didn't think of that. See, I know her more for things like A Beautiful Mind and
Right.
Hulk and
Right.
movies where she's only playing with that same actor.
Right.
I like her a lot in this.
Right.
It's hard for me not to compare her casting to the casting in The Phantom with Swanson, the girl who played the first Buffy,
Right.
which was not great casting. Like, she's okay in that. But I look at this
I
and
don't
I'm like, oh,
remember-
Jennifer Connelly is like a real actress.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't even remember her. The person I remember from that movie, the woman from that movie, is Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yes, but she's the bad guy.
She's the
lady.
bad guy.
Yep.
Right.
But the love interest is the original Buffy.
Okay. Wow.
Vince and I did a commentary on that about half a year ago.
Wow. So she lives at like a woman's boarding house, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think you can kind of have your cake and eat it too with things like this. I guess it's case by case. I will sometimes get irritated when you mix like fictional famous people or fictional like companies and things with real ones. I think it works
Right.
really well in this movie.
This confused me when I was a kid. I didn't understand.
Because they mentioned Cagney, but they've also got
Right.
Neville Sinclair. And like in
Right.
some things that's irritating, but I think it
Right.
works really well in
It's-
that.
I didn't understand what a newsreel was when I was a little kid. I was like, is this the movie that they're watching?
Why did all these people show up to watch this? And when does Neville Sinclair
He's
show
got
up?
a lot of food there.
A little bit. Zeppelin.
But I think that's totally in his character.
Right.
He's overcompensating. He's trying to impress his girlfriend.
Right.
He does not understand how to interact with women.
Right.
Just
Yeah, he's not good.
considering his next gen character.
The superhero, of course. the superhero character, of course, that he is most closely paralleling, obviously, is Peter Parker.
Right.
He is a straight-up Peter Parker.
Right.
The first thing he thinks to do with his rocket pack is make money.
Right.
And, of course, we sympathize with that because he's down on his luck, just like Peter Parker.
Right.
But even if he was... like doing really well monetarily
Right.
and was more well off, the first
Right.
thing that guy thinks to do is self-serving.
Right. Exactly.
Is not a selfless endeavor.
So this guy, this is Mayherdu.
Is that
That's
Mayherdu?
Mayherdu.
It had to have been one of the 5 or 6
Big guys.
actors in Hollywood that are that big.
It's not the one that played Lurch, but he was Mr.
Mr. Holmes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is the most comic booky thing in this movie.
Yeah,
is the crazy
Lon
makeup
Chaney kind of guy. Yeah.
we cake up on this guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's fun. That's a good point you're making. That's fun because we did that with heavies
Yes.
in movies from this period,
Right.
Where we try to make them look creepy by putting like
Right.
impossible, unreal makeup on them.
Right.
But it also gives you a Dick Tracy villain.
Right, exactly. I like that they don't
So it
know
gives you
they
more
go
that pulp
in there right
sensibility,
away,
too.
but they think it's part of the comedy.
But what I like about it is
yeah.
that it's realistic enough that they don't notice it long enough
Right.
for him to kill him.
Right.
But they do finally hear it and run
Right,
in.
right.
Because at first I assumed that scene was going to play for comedy.
No,
and it doesn't.
no.
It's actually not a joke.
No.
This movie
Ugh.
does not do cheap comedy,
No.
by the way. It's
Right.
really good about that. And this would be a movie that would be really easy to go. Like, there's so many... that is funny, though. That is
That's funny.
unintentionally
He's, like, really
hilarious.
light on his feet
When he- he's too big for me to buy that he's walking that way on that ledge. But don't you think... this is going to pay off
I
later.
think that's
the
a
giant,
real restaurant,
The giant
too.
dog head will
Yeah.
pay off later.
Yeah, I think that's a real restaurant, too. That dog, I think. That's a
really?
real location. Now, I don't think they filmed it in there, but I think it may be.
Something.
Don't quote me on that.
Surely they built the set for that.
Yes.
Something I had not thought about until just now is that I think that there is an intentional contrast in dealing with like classism and stuff,
right,
between this restaurant and the one she'll be in with Sinclair later.
Exactly. This is like his idea. This is why he can't keep up with.
Now, do you know who that is?
This guy?
Uh-huh.
I've seen him. Who is that?
That is... I just want to make you squirm for a minute. That is Jonathan Kent from Lois and Clark's New Adventures of Superman.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Okay. So...
And he's a character actor. He's been on all kinds of stuff. And, sadly, he passed away last year.
Right. And the actress... I cannot think of her name right now.
I've seen her in something.
The woman behind the... she is in everything. She was on The Americans. She was outstanding on that show. Margot Martindale, I believe, is her name.
I'm trying to
okay, I did not recognize her right away.
Yeah.
Eddie Jones is Malcolm. He's he's the guy from Lois and Clark.
Yeah,
is that the same character that puts on the clown suit and gets in the plane
later? The guy. He's the one that kind of...
He has kind of a nice little arc here where he feels bad for what's going to happen in this scene.
So he tries to make it up.
Yeah, he tries to make up for it.
Because he hears Bigelow say... if he doesn't get here in 2 minutes, he's
he's being kind of nosy and stuff,
right?
And then he gets him in trouble with his girlfriend,
right.
But so there's a really nice sense in this movie, of course, of actions and consequences.
Right.
He is constantly kind of putting his foot in his mouth and making silly, kind of kiddish mistakes.
Right.
Overcompensating for insecurities and trying to look manly and that kind of thing.
Right.
And this is a really believable thing that we don't do, I don't think, in a whole lot of movies where we have a guy who is... Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. This is a very 1938 kind of thing.
Right.
He has a really simplistic way of looking at relationships that is, I think, really believable and relatable, where he goes, well, the point of dating this girl is to impress her and take care of her and just give her a good time. He doesn't think of her as a friend and a confidant.
Right.
And so he never tells her about important things in his life.
Right, exactly. And that's all kind of why she goes to that Neville Sinclair. Also, there's the class issue, as you mentioned too, because he's showing her this real glamorous time. He's got all this money, and
she is trying to get into that world.
Right, and she
lives in his world, but she's trying to get into that world. And he's
on the periphery right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's worried that he's not good enough for her because, it's almost a jealousy thing. There's a part of him that doesn't want her to get into pictures
because he thinks she's going to leave him behind and stuff too.
Yeah, exactly, and that he won't be good enough for her. So he's kind of he wants to be supportive, but he doesn't want to be supportive, right? So he keeps saying well, you're just in these bit parts. All you did was stand there and hold a bowl of fruit or something.
Right.
When there is an insecure reason he's saying that.
Right.
He's worried about his station.
Right.
So when I said I don't see that done a lot in movies, I guess what I meant is I don't see it done well in a lot of movies. Very often that will make a protagonist really unsympathetic, where you're because it's easy to look at that and go, he's a womanizer.
Right.
He's not a womanizer.
It's not really that. No, it's more like he's just not good at it.
Yeah.
This stuff. He's just kind of a bonehead, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So he makes the helmet out of...
Oh, I forgot. He comes right out and says that. I want her to think I'm making something of myself. Yeah. That is some really nice character setup stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
I was thinking, so he's making the helmet right now, I think, out of a radio.
Yeah.
I think he's cutting it up.
It's all very Art Deco.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Art Deco look on things.
Well, and that's a clever way to work backwards from that mask.
Yeah.
Because, they've got, the look from the comics that they're going to use in the movie, so they're saying, where does that come from?
Right.
And sometimes that kind of origin stuff really irritates me, where it's I don't need there to be a genesis for it.
Right.
But that's a really, subtle, not in your face, look how clever we are, we have a reason for this. It helps that we are introducing an audience to the Rocketeer. Nobody making this movie expects that you have ever seen this iconography before.
Right.
And so much origin or prequel reimagining stuff these days will go, well, everybody recognizes this iconography. We've got to give some kind of, like, cute, clever reason for it.
Right.
So that mask has always reminded me of a combination between Iron Man and the Iron Giant.
Well, I think that it's looking at Iron Man, and I think the Iron Giant is also looking at maybe this, but maybe like if that guy read Rocketeer,
right.
but Brandon also Iron Man, because if you go back to the original Iron Man suit in the Stan Lee books, it's got a face kind of like that.
Okay, all right.
This is insane.
So what you're really seeing is a combination of Iron Man and Iron Man.
Okay,
like yeah,
he stabbed that guy. He stabs his other competition by accident here.
Yeah, I don't think it was an accident. What's really funny is it's a while before they even realize that he's dying or that he's got to go to the hospital.
I love that this woman she obviously just got the part because she's the related to
they say
producer or whatever.
Yeah, she's like the producer's niece or something.
Yeah.
A lot of good like Hollywood commentary in this, and a lot of kind of like set up for modern Hollywood cynicism.
Right. So this woman is the other woman that lives with her at the boarding house, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what our protagonist does in this scene...
28.
Yeah, that's right.
I was looking for that.
What our protagonist does in this scene is also a very vintage Peter Parker move.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to fix his mistakes and he just makes stuff worse.
Right. He just kind of stumbles into crap a lot of the time.
And it's because his heart, he's trying, but his heart's not quite in the right place.
Right.
This isn't as much about her as it is him trying to get her to forgive him. Right. So it's still selfishly motivated.
Right. And some of this is on the studio. I mean, they got guards up at the front gate. How did he get on the set?
Yeah. He's actually not Spider-Man. He doesn't
supposed to be there.
Yeah. He can't sneak in easily.
He just walked in.
I don't buy.
No.
I don't buy that the producer's niece, Adam, gives that much of a better performance on the 28th take. Unless the other 26 didn't have anything to do with her.
Right.
Now, can I ask you something? Maybe you know this because I didn't look into this, but it was a thing I was curious about. Were movies made like that where they had back then where they had the soundtrack going and everything?
No.
I wouldn't have thought so.
They would do that during the silent era to give people mood music. There'd be like a guy playing the piano and stuff.
Yeah.
But they had to record the sound.
Like, I wouldn't have thought that he would need to get from that earlier point all the way up to her line.
Right.
Because couldn't you have a cut somewhere?
Honestly,
you're not going to do that as a oneer back then. We cut a lot more than that.
And I honestly don't even know if it was supposed to be like that or if it's just like that's the way the director, like, oh, the music's starting up as we started doing this scene. You know, it's like not actually happening.
No, that wasn't my interpretation. Because when they cut farther away, the music sounds like it's farther away.
Oh.
So the music is pretty clearly, I think, supposed to be being played on the scene. So what I think is going on, Adam, is we're going to be unrealistic about the way this scene would be filmed in 38 because a movie in 38 might be also unrealistic about that.
And honestly, I might
because they would, right?
And I could, and I could totally be wrong about.
I think that is part of their trying to make this feel authentic to a movie made back then.
I mean, and I could totally be wrong about that. I don't think they used to do that, but they would still be trying to record the sound unless they were planning to do ADR for the whole scene or whatever, you know?
So it's not so convenient that I don't buy that this could happen, but this is another one of those moments where if he doesn't overhear this, the movie is over.
Right.
Or at least the movie turns out differently because he's got to go find that rocket somehow.
Right. It's a Union set, as we see back there. They got the ITAS logo or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
or however you pronounce that.
I also think those walls could have been better connected.
Yes, they didn't do a very good job bracing that. He barely touched it, and the whole thing fell
That was
down.
made for an action scene.
It was bound to happen already, right?
Yeah, it's too easy.
Damn.
Why is he pushing these guys to the side?
Because he's trying to catch up there.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was a little unnecessary.
Well, he's also evil.
He's
Yeah,
evil.
he's hamming it up.
No, he's evil.
He's an evil person.
Yeah, you don't know it yet, Brandon, but he's like a bad person.
He's a bad guy.
He's he's a very bad person.
That makes sense.
I really buy and like the way he lays on the charm with her.
Yes.
And that's really good.
Yeah. Exactly. Because he knew that she would be definitely open to this based on her, she's an extra.
Well, she's desperate to
get into the, and she just got fired.
I think it would have been a bigger blow for her and would have been more devastating, cooler for her. I hesitate to say arc because this isn't really her movie, and I don't know that she really learns anything by the end. But I think it would have been a cool thing to do with her if he actually went as far as having her try out for that role and maybe even make her think that she's getting in a movie,
right?
As opposed to, and it's all good, it's well written,
right?
But I wish they went a little bit farther than just he's seducing her at a restaurant,
right, exactly.
I think we could have gotten more mileage out of that.
This is outstanding. This is all real. I think. I'm sure.
It has to be real. No, it looks good.
Stunt flyers.
Yeah, because the stuff that we do later with the Rocketeer suit on green screen, or I don't know if any of that is rear projected, but all the green screen stuff, it looks good for that period. But you can tell how they did it. This has to be real. This has to be real. Yeah. So it's going to get really funny when this guy keeps saying it's all part of the show.
I know that. There's some great costumes in this.
Yeah, I really like the role that they give him.
Yeah.
To play the guy that puts on the clown suit, the guy from Lois and Clark.
Yes.
A lot of these characters that you expect to be kind of more bit players that are there for one scene end up really facilitating the story, right?
Exactly.
Like really pushing things along,
right.
And in ways that are inherent to their characters. We're thinking about all these smaller bit
Bigelow
players.
Guy,
they all have real motivations.
Even the Bigelow guy, he winds up inadvertently leading the Lurch guy to where they live.
That's
stuff.
right. Yeah. Yeah, this is a textbook example of how to do a somewhat involved plot, character driven.
Right.
Where you have all these moving parts, you have a lot of this decision leads to this decision, and a lot of intrigue and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't feel like a plot that's moving characters around.
Exactly.
It really does feel like the characters are actually making all of these things happen.
Right.
Even with all the conspiracy and double crosses and that kind of stuff.
Now, to be fair, this probably would have happened to him if he had been flying this plane. If it just broke down like that.
That's true, but he's crashed once in the last 24 hours. He'll be all right.
He'll be all right. That's great how they break like that.
This will be a softer landing than the last one.
Right.
He's probably not going to get oil in his face.
Yeah. He's like, we're going to lose all our money.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's going to say that 4 times, and it's a good lesson, folks. It's a good piece of advice that if somebody tells you it's all part of the show, it's not.
Right.
if somebody
no kidding.
felt the need to make a big deal out of, there is no problem here, there is a problem.
Yes.
So why didn't that
Otherwise,
guy
we
just
wouldn't be
land when
saying
he
it.
got close enough to land?
I don't think he really knows what he's doing, but they just said
He's
he'd
a
been up.
clown.
Last time he'd been up there was 25 years ago during World War
Sure.
One. This is your big hero moment here. When he puts it on for the first time.
Yeah, Brannon, he was just desperate to make it up to this guy
Right.
because he messed up things with his girlfriend.
Sure.
Like this, stand back. That still looks good.
It holds up pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. That looks great.
There is a guy, I've seen video of this guy. He's I think he's an engineer. He definitely worked with a team of engineers. He built this arrow wing that has these jet engines on it.
Yeah,
and he
I've
can
seen
fly.
guys like do
Oh
that
my
kind of
goodness.
stuff, yeah.
It is
This
insane.
is a crazy shot.
Yeah. Or between his legs.
Oh!
Knocked him out.
Well, the thing had
I think
his
we
head,
knocked him
too.
out because it's immediately less awkward for him
Right.
if he's knocked out when the guy's head is between his
Right.
legs.
Also, that thing fell on his head too. That was
Well,
funny.
yeah. No, I get that, but like, it's gonna make it.
Right. It'd be awkward.
Yeah.
That's great. That has to be a real person doing that.
That was
Yeah.
a stunt.
That was
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that was good stunt.
Well, there's
Wow.
probably a parachute in his jet, in his
Thing,
rocket pack.
right.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
You know, it's probably a good thing that it's not a jetpack, because then he'd be the Jetateer,
Yeah.
and that doesn't sound great.
No.
He'd be the Jetcateer.
Jet I
Yeah.
like that
So-
the way the cloud lit up there when it came back on.
Since this is Disney,
He's cloud bursting.
Yeah.
Since this is Disney, is he a Mouseketeer?
I was gonna say
Mouseketeer.
it's weird that Disney made this because
Yes.
they have Mouseketeers, and then we have the Rocketeer.
Yeah.
the Rocket Mouseketeer.
This guy loses his fuel truck again.
So it was right before.
no.
There
Yeah.
it goes.
So I was wrong about the scene. It was right before this scene, Adam, that Jason goes, "Is this a superhero movie?" And then
And then he sees it.
and then the
Yeah.
superhero stuff starts happening, and Jason goes, "Oh, now I see how this is a superhero movie." Importantly, so I was talking earlier about how this is one of the superhero movies that where a superhero becomes the subgenre of something else. Where
Right.
this is an aviator movie first, right?
Exactly.
And it's
a flying
a
movie.
gangster movie
Yes.
first too. It's also
And a
that
Hollywood
and a Hollywood movie.
movie.
Yeah, it's all those things.
Exactly.
And obviously, there's a lot of old Hollywood movies that would blend a lot of that stuff together too, right? If you think about it, this is only 91.
Right.
This is maybe, I'm surprised I'm saying this, but I think I'm right about it. I think unless you count Batman because it's also a gangster movie, this is the first superhero
he
movie
is
that's
really
not a superhero
high.
movie first.
Right. Definitely.
Isn't that interesting?
I would definitely think so. Yeah.
I guess Batman kind of
Right.
does that too, but it feels more like a straight up superhero movie in that it's partly because it's not an origin thing and starts
Right.
with Batman already being Batman, so it's kind of making a big deal out of like we have a superhero with gadgets and things.
I like that he just accidentally turned off his rocket pack because he tried to
Yeah, he
give him a
turned
little
his head.
salute or
And
whatever.
in the moment, it's confusing, and then immediately it's explained.
But you can hear like the little.
Well, but we don't know why it turned off
Yeah.
until Alan Arkin explains
Yeah.
that the head is the rudder.
Yes. And he also hit the button. He went like that too. I think that was part of it. Is this on his thumb?
That's not what Alan Arkin says.
Oh, that's
he,
not-
he says that if you turn your head,
Right, because you go the wrong
it's
way.
gonna
Yeah,
go
that's
the
true.
yeah. We actually maybe should have saved this movie for next year because next year will be the 30th anniversary of this film.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
In a year we missed a bunch of anniversaries. Let's just do a bunch of movies in our off anniversary
And that plane
year.
that he just was looking at with the people in it, that was a Ford Trimotor, which was the same plane that they fly at the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Wow.
Yeah. It was an early passenger airplane.
Yeah.
This is one of those suits too where I actually buy him wearing this.
Yeah.
And this it doesn't
Well,
feel like a
yeah, and
really
I've
expensive
heard-
Hollywood
well,
suit, and it looks like a.
Well, I think that's just his regular
makeshift-
clothes,
It is,
you know?
but that's what he's gonna wear. Like,
Right,
it looks like
exactly.
a makeshift suit that also works pretty well as a superhero suit.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't have that that Raimi Spider-Man problem
Right, I
of,
think-
well, you had $100 to make that
Right,
suit.
this is just his aviator outfit he was going to wear today when he went flying up in the during the
Right.
clown, doing the clown stuff.
It becomes a signature look. Also, this prop, like it's the rocket pack itself is just A1.
It looks great.
I've always loved it. I
Yeah.
thought it looked great from the first time I saw it. That's the biggest thing I think. I mean, anybody probably remembers about this movie. It's
Yeah.
the rocket, obviously, but like that's what always sold me on it when I watched it when I was growing up.
I like it when he hits the popcorn out of his hand here.
There was a case I remember reading about a few years ago.
Yeah, this is funny.
where
Wait,
Get in the
popcorn.
car.
a guy strapped a jet engine to the top of a car and tried to hook it up, and they found it smashed into a ledge of the side of a hill.
Well, that's what's gonna happen.
That's what you get.
That's what you get. Why has he got a shovel on the wall? Never noticed that
That's
before.
a good
What is that?
Oh, I don't know.
Don't you have a shovel on your
I don't
wall?
have a shovel on my wall, except in my garage.
It looks like a golden shovel,
It's a
too.
golden
Is it
shovel.
made of gold?
Maybe
it's
it was
what
like
they
the
broke
shovel when they
ground.
broke ground on the airfield, I
Yeah.
guess.
So,
Maybe.
this is why I gotta talk some superhero stuff
He
for a
likes
minute.
this.
So,
Look at this. He's like, yeah,
yeah,
look at me.
yeah.
It's all dry.
So
or
this is where
reality?
we start getting into some real typical traditional superhero tropes that, like I said, we immediately start to subvert. We got to do the thing where immediately after his first outing, everybody's talking about him. You got the newspapers. You got people around him talking about him, not knowing it's him.
Right.
You got the kind of Shakespeare mistaken identity thing.
Right.
And so that's all familiar if you
Right.
know superhero stuff, and then it immediately reminds you that this is, like you were talking about earlier, Adam, this small-time guy who's not ready to be a superhero, who's not even thinking about being a superhero. Like, again, he's wonderfully sympathetic in that he keeps doing stuff, selfishly for himself, but he also, like, has a good heart and cares about
Right.
people. And so that time when he puts the pack on, it's to go save that guy.
Right.
And also to clean up his own mess,
Right.
because he feels responsible for that.
Right. This is lit great. I love this.
Yes.
Is one of those green desk lamps. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another good example
Yes.
of we know where the light source is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And I love the transition here when they're reading the address to the guy's voice. The way he says it. Bomb terrace.
It's also really funny because he's looking at his palm when he says
I know,
that.
he is.
That's what I just noticed.
There's a lot of great transitions in this. Do you remember the thing that we'll see later with the clouds to the pillow?
Yes.
There's a
Yes,
really
I
neat
love that. I even
transition.
as a kid noticed that. I was like, that's great. They tear up this great bungalow. It's so sad. Here.
Well, it makes the stakes higher,
I know. Lost their house.
Yeah, they lose their house, and then they have to go live in a dog head.
And the dog head.
Which is the biggest weird parallel to Captain Invincible, which I'll talk about when we get there.
Oh, that was lucky. Oh.
Also, Cliff is an unusual name. We don't use that a lot.
I know. Oh.
See, he is just not ready for it. Immediately,
No, he's not ready for this.
Immediately, he's got a supervillain thug type guy that he's got to deal
They were
with.
just got thrown into
He
this
just knocked
mess.
the light out
Yeah.
and fallen over.
Yeah.
That probably wasn't on purpose.
And then these guys just go crazy and light the place up.
Well, they're FBI, right?
Yeah.
See, what I love about the Rocketeer is that it feels like we're adapting the superhero formula to this other genre,
Right.
where it doesn't feel like we've forced these elements
Right.
into the superhero world. It feels like it just naturally
Right.
fits with that stuff. So, like, we don't need a costume supervillain because
Right.
the Nazis are just villains.
They're just bad-
They're
yeah.
they're like
Right.
supervillains in the first place. And furthermore, we used Nazis as supervillains in the Golden Age
Right.
all the time.
Exactly.
But we also have this big scary guy that seems like a comic book villain that showed up in movies like this.
Exactly.
It's almost making the case that we had superhero movies before we had superhero
We did.
movies.
Yeah.
Is that going too far?
I don't think so. I think it's what you're saying.
or at the very least, you've got art imitating other kinds of art.
Yeah.
So, like,
right.
Comics were obviously drawing from Hollywood.
Exactly.
And so we've got Hollywood drawing from comics that were drawing from Hollywood.
It's a great transition. And I swear the woman that's singing in this, I've seen her somewhere before.
Really?
I don't know where.
We do some fun stuff with this clam,
Great.
with this
It's
giant
great.
clam later.
The whole design of this place is great.
You know what else is interesting? This is, if I'm not mistaken, the same year that Little Mermaid comes out.
Oh, yeah. So there's that's supposed to be Clark Gable, I guess.
Was that 89?
That was 89.
No, that was 89.
91 was it Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I know who that is. I think she played on I think that was Jan Levison Gould from The Office.
Oh,
weird.
Really?
I think. I don't know. I might be.
The casting.
I've seen her somewhere.
The casting of everybody in this movie is really good and believable, but especially the ladies. And maybe it's just we're that good at hair and makeup,
right.
but like all the women in this feel like
they could have been around that
yeah.
time. Right. This is W.C. Fields.
So we're about to get a close up on Jennifer Connelly's chest.
This is a little much here. Yeah,
because but it's because we're making a point about Hollywood.
Yes.
Where
is that Clint Howard? I think
these guys having all the money and power they have think they can get anything they want.
Right.
So he sees an attractive woman and immediately thinks I can get her to sleep with me so she can sleep around to go to the top. That's what's going on.
So there's a person in there.
I'm so confused about that.
I don't understand. How are they not dead?
Is it an actual person?
It looks like a real person to me.
Maybe it's a mannequin?
I don't know.
Where you have there's an air current going through it. So maybe there's a mannequin and the air current goes through the hair of the mannequin and makes it look like it's a mermaid. But no, I had the same thought you did when I watched this last time.
Yeah.
I was like, she's drowning.
Yes.
Oh, I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
This is one of those stories that you can, and it's especially noticeable now.
Yeah.
But that you can only tell in this kind of time period because it hinges really hard on no one being able to tell what the main character looks like.
Right. Exactly.
You can't do this story now.
Right.
You just get on the internet, look him up.
Right. I love this line when he says, "2-bit jerk." Number 3 box.
He's the number 3.
Number 3 jerk. That's what it is. Number 3 jerk. Yep.
We'll see. He's probably making sure that he's not the number 1 star because he doesn't want to be that conspicuous. Like,
oh, here's a dog head.
Okay, so they're inside of this dog head, and we do exactly the same thing in Captain Invincible because Captain Invincible's headquarters is inside of the head of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I think it's really funny that Alan Arkin winds up in both of those scenes.
I guess
Also listening to a radio. That's a thing too. Right. Yes.
Yeah. I guess it's just like an attic. I don't know what they use it.
Kind of.
And Return of the Captain Invincible is a movie in the mid '80s that's set in the mid '80s.
Okay.
That is about a washed out superhero who was basically like as beloved as Superman in this time period. So so you have Alan Arkin in this playing an older guy who's in the same time period that he in his heyday was supposed to be in Captain Invincible.
Right.
I gotta show you that movie. Brandon, I made you watch that, yeah?
Say what?
I made you watch Captain Invincible, right? Have you not seen that either?
We'll have to do that.
Sarah and I make everybody watch that. I can't believe we haven't had you guys watch that yet. That is
actually,
that is one of Sarah's favorite things.
Is he on a mountain at some point?
Yes.
Okay.
We did watch it. That crazy superhero musical. It's a B movie.
It's a musical.
Yes.
It's a musical, but the songs are so few and far between that you forget that it's a musical. And it's amazing.
It's been a minute, but
I talk about that movie way too much, but Alan Arkin's in this, so I can't help myself. Especially because it's got weird
this is too much of a coincidence or not?
What's that?
She happened to sign her name on the phone booth.
Oh, I never noticed that.
Yeah, that's how they figure out who it is.
Oh,
yes. That's Lady Luck.
That's a little easy.
I think it's the phone booth. Her little heart signature.
But you know what I appreciate?
Yeah.
The fact that it takes them as long as it does to see his picture, him with her in a picture, because there's so many pictures on the walls that, like, there's a lot of, like, just really easy writing stuff that they avoid in this movie that lesser movies would do, where, like, you know, these guys could walk in and in, like, a second, you know, easily notice him in that picture. But this is built for this wonderful sense of suspense, especially because I keep assuming that he's got to be on one of these pictures somewhere,
right?
And then they finally see him. But this is a
really, he moved to Cincinnati.
This is a wonderfully suspenseful scene, and it's also very reminiscent, Brandon, of the scene where they're looking for Roger Rabbit in Roger Rabbit.
I was going to mention Roger Rabbit a few minutes ago because I noticed, like, this takes place in a similar time frame, but wasn't Roger Rabbit in the 40s?
Yeah, it would have been just after this. Yeah,
these guys definitely come off as legitimately menacing in this.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, definitely. Exactly.
They don't seem like just comic thugs, you know.
I'm talking about the shaving the haircut scene.
Yes. Oh yeah.
This is that scene.
Or Dr. Doom. His name's Dr. Doom, right?
It's not Dr. Doom. It's Judge Doom.
Judge Doom. Thank you. I was like,
Dr. Doom is Fantastic Four.
I know I'm a little
Don't
bit
say
off.
who's Dr. Doom.
I know I'm a little off. I'm not thinking this right, but
I'm sorry. I don't have comic book guys here, guys. Everybody's in my audience is cringing right now. Who's Dr. Doom?
No.
He said who's Dr. Doom.
I said who's Dr. Doom.
No, he said who's Dr. Doom.
I apologize for having said it at all because I was like, no, Christopher Lloyd played Judge Doom, and
you should apologize.
This is crazy.
But no, I remember that scene where he's knocking on everything. Shave and a haircut.
Mr. Ketchup Bottle.
I know I've seen her in things.
Oh, she's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but what have I seen her in?
Look, there it is. See, okay, it is on the wall. The Ginny.
Okay.
Heart.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then it's got that.
Yeah.
And then he happens to see the picture on the wall with both of them together.
Right. But it still takes a minute.
Yeah, it takes a minute.
Before he notices that.
That's crazy that the phone in the boarding house is actually a pay phone. But it's not that crazy because that lady seems like somebody that would nickel and dime people.
So you've got a lot. You got a lot of these places where obviously we need somebody to give somebody information to advance the plot,
right?
And it's just about finesse, right? You can make anything work. You just got to make it work.
Right.
So that is a place where we need to get to the next part of the plot. So we have her tell him the exact thing she needs. Then, but it's just written such way by she would
like
say
that girl. Yeah, I feel like she would have been like that.
Yeah, it doesn't take me out. I don't think about it. I'm thinking about it right now because I'm deconstructing story, but. Cliff is also lucky that everybody in this town loves him.
Yes. He's got a lot of fans.
And again, it's that Roger Rabbit thing where, like, nobody's going to give up Roger Rabbit because he's their childhood.
Right.
Yeah, I hadn't thought to compare this to Roger Rabbit before, but it's got a similar vibe.
And then when he happens to notice.
And romanticizes this. Yeah, but you know what's cool, though?
Yeah.
But you see the sequence of pictures that he's looking at. There's a
It's
progression.
not, it's not like
he
doesn't
just glance at it.
There's a lot of pictures on the wall, so it's not like it would just stand out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
he's gonna fix everything.
It's just a more sophisticated script than anybody gives it credit for.
They trashed her pie holder and the coffee pot and the bullet holes.
Well, I say more sophisticated than anybody gives it credit for. This is one of those movies that a lot of people don't remember and don't think to go back to.
Yeah.
But everybody that knows it seems to really like it.
I know. Maybe more people will watch it now that it's on Disney+.
That's what I'm hoping, yeah.
This is crazy. So there's a door, I guess, back here to the outside of the dog's back. That's where he takes off from. And also doesn't set the building on fire somehow.
She was in The Firm. I saw that movie.
The Firm.
Oh, yeah. I never saw that.
That's the John.
That's the one with.
No, I
Tom
will say
Cruise.
there are a couple of places where he is really lucky that he doesn't blow
Yeah,
up, and
look
this
at that.
is one of them.
and then this gum holds the whole time.
movie. Yep. So he goes, and there's a setup for that earlier, which I kind of like, where
For luck.
He puts it on there for luck, and then
Right.
it's there so he can do this.
And they put it on the plane too. And he takes it off the plane with just a new paint job, and then that plane crashes. I love that.
I forgot about that. That gum has quite a life in this
Yeah.
movie. It's got it. The gum is a character all its own.
Yeah.
It's got an arc. Brandon, it's the gum arc.
Yeah.
The gum has an arc.
That's
yeah.
something they used to do in nightclubs. They'd have somebody go around and take photos for it.
Well, and this is a big high profile
High profile place. And he's
nightclub with a bunch of famous people,
movie
and
star. Yeah.
so that's why they're doing that. Yeah. She is not made stupid to make this plot work.
No.
Which is great.
Right.
He's seducing her. She doesn't have any reason to suspect that he's after something else other than
Right, and she catches on
her.
pretty quick too.
Once there's anything to catch on to,
when
yeah.
there's stuff to catch
I mean,
on
this does go on a pretty long time, but the thing is, everybody trusts him.
So the movie premiere there, for a little trivia. Look, I noticed that the first time I ever saw this on Blu-ray was the Betty Davis movie Jezebel, which was a kind of a Gone with the Wind kind of type movie, antebellum film.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, another blending of real things and made up things. Which in this helps to give it a lot of credibility.
Atmosphere and stuff. Yeah.
Because it's like Watchmen.
Right.
Where it's not as alternate history as Watchmen is.
Right.
But it's the world you live in, but it's slightly askew.
Slightly askew, right.
And the most notable example of that is the Hollywood land sign.
Right.
Where this has to give an explanation for why the land gets knocked off
down.
the Hollywood sign. Yeah. And I also don't think it's throwing her under the bus to have her having this kind of night on the town with him, because she's not even sure where she stands.
I know,
with
they're
Cliff
on the
right
outs,
now.
exactly.
Yeah,
right. They're.
I mean,
on a break,
now
I guess.
if they slept together,
No.
then we would have to have the friends argument, Adam.
Yeah.
It's really
We're on
funny.
a break.
It's really funny because that's exactly where I was going with that.
Yeah.
So
Don't be a
I guess
Ross.
this is the laundry for the waiters and the linens, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah. The table linens.
It's a good way to disguise it.
Except there's a bunch of other ones back there. It'd be hard to find it right away.
If you remember where you put it, if nothing gets disturbed.
I guess.
So
I mean,
this is
it's gonna be the
another
heaviest one.
So this is another kind of standard thing a lot of superheroes find themselves having to do, where they go undercover,
Yeah.
that he's going to be really bad at.
Yes, he sucks at this.
Yeah, because why would he be good at
Get
this?
you my
Yeah.
little note here. Oh.
And I liked it. Here's what's kind of fun about it. He's going to suck at being a lowly waiter, never mind trying to act like some high society guy. Like, we're not doing that. We're not going to have him pretend to fit in this world.
Right.
He can't even fit in the hospitality side of this world.
Look at that guy. He's like,
Yeah, he's got he's holding a clarinet in his
I'm just
hand.
not sure you're even snapping to this song.
Clarinet's an interesting choice.
well, it's a big band.
I
He's not gonna play
know.
the violin.
No, but I understand this, but I just think it's interesting how the clarinet's leading.
Yeah.
Can I borrow some money so I can take my boyfriend to this club?
Yeah.
And yeah, like, she's not written him off. She's not said,
Right.
okay, well,
Yeah.
this movie star is taking me out on a date. I'm totally done with him. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think, like, she's obviously falling for him, but not any more than she already was, right?
Right.
Like, for her,
She's
this
just
is all
like
about the potential advancement of her career.
And there's also like a first date kind of almost with him. She's like kind of,
Yeah, like, if he made a move on her, she would not go for it, I don't think.
Right.
Don't you agree? Like
I don't think.
I don't
so.
think
No.
I don't think they're writing her as like this easy loose
that
girl
she's
or
just-
whatever.
Right, or like that. Yeah, she's willing to do anything for her career or whatever, something like that.
And that's a hard line to walk. I think
Right.
it's difficult to make that sympathetic, but
right.
again, they totally pull that off.
Ooh.
It's very relatable that she's wanting to be part of this world, but she doesn't want to leave her old world
Like
behind.
he's just obviously just wearing his normal outfit under this thing.
Yeah.
Look how tight that is. Look at it. You
Oh,
can
that's
see it
great.
hanging out there.
That's-
because
That's a superhero trope I had not thought to comment
Yeah.
on, which is he's got his costume,
got his costume on
underneath his
underneath
regular
it, regular
clothes,
clothes.
but anybody could see it,
I know.
except he's not a famous superhero, so they wouldn't even know what
they
it
would
is.
know what it is, right?
He just looks incompetent as all hell.
I mean, I say that. He's all over the front page right now, but he's only been doing this for a day.
Right.
So, like, she can't be the only person that
And
doesn't
they're
know
not
about
that
that
great
yet.
photos either. You know, it's hard to probably tell what exactly.
Yeah, I mean, they're
he's
better than,
wearing.
like, UFO photos.
Right.
But, so all these photos are blurry. Does the Rocketeer exist?
Oh, he just hit his head.
This scene
he
is
did.
amazing. This is one of the best written scenes in this movie. And 2 years after Batman, we already turned the I'm Batman scene on its head.
Yes.
It's great. So he's about to go. He's about to say I'm Batman, and she's gonna go, "Who's Batman?"
You're in
And it's
for a
wonderful.
shock.
Prepare yourself for a shock.
They murdered Bigelow.
I'm the Rocketeer.
You know how a normal person gets up in the morning
Yeah.
and goes downstairs.
Yeah. I've been working all day. Unlike you.
That's wonderful. And the thing is, I'm praising this for turning a cliche on its head that for regular theater-going audiences isn't even that much of a cliche yet. I mean, it is because you've already had Superman and Batman that both do that.
Right.
But at this point in history, we've had 60,000 other superhero things do that.
Right, exactly. So he wants her to take a cab to Redlands. I'm pretty sure that's kind of out in the boonies at this time.
Oh.
That's probably expensive. I just noticed that.
It's okay. She'll just ask Neville Sinclair for a loan.
For a loan. She should have swallowed the paper. Excuse me.
What's that you have?
Self-destruct.
What's that you have under your tongue? You know what else this club reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of the Coco Bongo Club from The Mask.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
I love this crazy scene, this fight scene in this club.
She took a look at that dude.
That's a classic like 1930s gangster movie kind of
Right.
thing too, where you've got this.
She only
big,
gotten in the cab, but then she goes back in.
That also would take the movie in a totally
I
different
know.
direction, and probably a less interesting direction.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is where you've got this heavy that just grunts at every scene he's in.
I know.
Where it seems like they just 80 yard
Yes.
his voice back in. Where he just walks around, and you just hear.
Cutting in.
Wow, that looks like sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave me
A
alone.
little bit.
Stop it.
Gotta go
Quit
get
touching
his-
me.
He's got to go get his instrument of being a superhero. Excuse him for one moment.
Naturally, you got to run through or hit the wait staff and knock over some trays.
Yeah.
Well, it's just more dramatic that way,
Yes.
Brandon.
Of
It's more
course.
exciting.
If you're at a club and you've got a
Yeah, there
chase
it is.
scene, you run to the kitchen.
I had not even thought of that, Adam.
Yeah.
That he's got his costume
I didn't
on
really
underneath.
notice it until we
And-
just started watching it.
And that's
I've seen
because
this
he's
movie
not thinking of it as a
million
costume. It's just what he's
yeah.
wearing already.
I thought it's just tight because that's what he could that's what he could
All
find.
these really fun, like seemingly accidental superhero tropes that they're clearly thinking
Right.
about when they put this together. I think the main thing that I marvel at with this film,
Where did he
besides
go?
that the character work is as good as it is that this feels like a superhero movie we would have made 10 years after this.
Right. I love that the guy hits the note like right when he goes flying over here, and it's
I also have a theory that this movie performs now in a way that it didn't back then.
yes, yeah,
I think we were. This is weirdly ahead of its time. Like,
yeah.
I don't think that there was as much appreciation
Well,
from a lot of.
There's a person in there.
That looked like a person to me, and it looked like a pretty detailed mannequin. I don't know. It
just doesn't make sense that it can't be a person.
It can't be.
And not just in the film, like making the movie.
How did they make the movie? They have like an oxygen tank on her.
That is elaborate.
He did catch stuff on fire.
They finally did.
Yeah.
That would be a wonderful dark parody where the Rocketeer sees her floating in there and rescues her from this building, and then stops and announces to the crowd, "This woman is dead."
I love that they used the glass snail ice sculpture.
Oh,
ice sculpture, not glass, but the break.
Is that supposed to be an ice sculpture?
It's an ice sculpture.
Does it shatter?
Yes.
Oh, the head comes off.
Yes. It was an ice sculpture for real.
I forgot the head comes off.
Yes.
Tommy guns.
And this is crazy. They used the net from the decoration to catch him.
That's another thing that reminds me of The Mask, because we use Tommy guns all over The Mask.
Yes.
And I think in the Coco Bongo Club.
But sure, I forgive you. But my Tommy gun don't.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh.
And of course, that's one of those movies that, like, 1989 is kind of like anachronistic and is kind of outside of time.
Yeah.
So, like, it's got like 40s gangster stuff, but it's got more present day technology, and it has the history of cartoons,
right?
Which is weird.
That's great when he bursts through the glass here.
Yeah.
Right,
but it aesthetically is doing a lot of what this movie is doing, except this is squarely set in 38.
Right. That's great, Matt painting there. I think we're going to get your dissolve here in a second.
Why does this movie look so good?
Yeah.
And again, we should mention this transfer is really, really good.
Ether or chloroform.
Chloroform. And here's your transition.
Can you take somebody out with formaldehyde like that, Brandon?
I don't know. It's chloroform.
There it goes.
For sure.
Look at that.
It's not clouds. It's
nice.
mountains, and
mountains.
then it goes to the.
Yes.
That is one of the coolest
really
transitions
cool.
I've ever seen. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
I did not remember that either before I watched this in preparation for this. So this is where.
This may not be a real house. I don't know, but it seems real to me.
So this is where Connolly's character gets to be
estate?
really proactive, and we get to finally come right out and say, no, she's smarter than you might have thought she was.
Right.
But what's really cool is all the way through this scene, she is playing him, and the audience can't be sure.
I know.
There's an outlet on the wall.
There's an outlet, electrical outlet, like a normal, like a modern one.
I couldn't tell if it was modern or not, but I feel like it shouldn't have been there in this time frame.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Not right next to that fireplace.
Secret door. So she sees him through the window, looking onto the other wing, I guess.
Now, obviously, he wouldn't have done this in this movie, but since he's like the big comic book bad guy, and he's got a secret door and everything, it'd be really funny if he came in and he was like, I want you to prepare yourself for a shock. And then he gives her the name of a supervillain. He's like, I'm this person. She goes, I don't know who that is either. I guess I'm in a comic book movie. I didn't realize that. I don't understand what's happening. Yet another nice bit of light there. Good light source. I don't usually comment this much on lighting. But the lighting in this movie is really well done.
Yeah. The hell was that?
And again, I'm a broken record, but also really reminiscent of the way you would do lighting.
So she just had to pretend to would he put that in her nose to be like,
yes. Oh, and you know what? I didn't think of this, but now that you say that, she is proving to the audience that she is a good enough actor to be in his movies.
Right, exactly.
Because she's going to fool him.
I know.
Through this whole scene, up to the point where she hits him in the head with something.
That thing.
So I just looked up a bit of trivia about this movie, and get this. This movie was originally supposed to be preceded in theaters by a Roger Rabbit cartoon.
Yeah, I knew that.
Called Hair in My Soup.
Yep.
But it was never made.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, there were a couple of shorts like that they were supposed to make.
Oh.
Cool. I'm interested to know now if this is a real house.
Yeah, I'm interested.
And apparently that was a real GB plane used in the beginning.
Oh, okay.
It was only allowed to land a few number of times because landing's hard on its landing gear.
Okay.
See, I think it's really cool how she is like calling him on all the lines that he's just repeating from his movies,
Right.
and yet he's still not picking up on she's not into this anymore and knows something is going on.
Right.
Like, he is making the assumption that she is either an idiot or desperate enough that she'll be okay with being chloroformed.
Right.
And that she'll buy his half-baked story about being forced to do this to her.
Right.
So as soon as he pulls both dresses out, you go, well, he's going to go with the black one.
Yeah.
There's no way he doesn't pick the black one. Like, obviously. It's going to be the black one. It's the black one.
Yeah.
Something else I want to give this movie a lot of credit for is having scenes apart from the protagonist with the villain.
Right.
Without the audience ever knowing much more than the protagonist knows.
Right.
That is really sophisticated and again helps us to stay in our character's head and stay and keep him sympathetic, because very often you'll get the whole villain plot and you'll have to watch the main character catch up.
Right.
And in this, we have no idea
what's going
what
on.
he's doing until the third act.
I guess he checks his teeth.
And we don't really know. We don't really. I mean, we don't even know about the Nazi thing until Howard Hughes in his video, right?
Exactly. There's a great line here after she hits him with this.
A lot of good one-liners in this.
Yeah.
That again are very period one-liners.
Right.
This is the kind of movie that needs those, and it's not too corny for this material.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah.
She goes.
Well, and what's fun? I've really latched onto this now. So, all the way through that, you know, you're kind of picking up on, okay, she's acting. She really does have that talent. Like, she wants to be a movie star, and she actually could be a movie star.
Right.
It also helps that she's being played by Jennifer Connelly.
Right.
And then at the end of the movie, when we get to that great line that you love, where Neville Sinclair says, "It wasn't lying; it was acting."
Yes.
She could have also said that.
Right.
She could have also had that line.
Right. What book is it? Do we get to see
I don't
the
think they're going to
title?
show it to us. Even on this big screen, I don't think we're going to be able to read it. Oh no, they show it. The Conquest of Casanova. That's right. Oh, okay. No, there is a significance to that. Okay.
This is lit great too.
Just the lighting in this movie, Adam. It's excellent.
This is great. This part here. This
I
is
don't think
like
I've
this
ever-
reveal here.
In 10 years, talked this much about lighting.
Yeah. When she sees this book.
Yeah, and see, she really easily could have just been the device to get Sinclair to Cliff.
Right.
Because that's what he's trying to use her for.
Right.
But instead, she gets roped up into the story.
Right.
She's actually going to proactively push the story along and make stuff happen, but not just as a plot device. She's doing stuff. Oh, okay, that's where we get the Nazis. But we don't know,
what their
plot
plan is. But we know that what he is.
Yeah. We don't know what the whole, doomsday weapon plot is. It's also interesting that we've got, again, the director here that later will make Captain America First Avenger, which is a movie that, of course, Lothar is just what that guy should be named. Like, of course his name is Lothar. There's a Power Rangers villain, I think, named Lothar. Is it Lothar or Lokar? I think it's Lokar. That big face in the sky in first season.
Did you ever figure out that it was a real house?
No, I did not. But Joe Pesci turned down the role of Eddie Valentine in this movie.
Joe
Well,
Pesci
that's
turns down
interesting.
lots of stuff.
But it's interesting because both of those guys were in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
So. But why is she there? Does she live with the dog? In the dog?
Well, it's clearly an apartment.
She lives in the dog.
She lives in the dog head.
She's in her bath or
Does that
in her
now
night
remind
robe.
anybody else of the robot head in the Amazon Tick series?
Bring us the rocket.
So yeah, this is a standard kidnapping the girlfriend plot, but
Yeah.
again, at least she's proactive. At least she does some stuff.
She tried to escape and
Well, and she's figuring stuff out.
she figured it out, right?
Now, I can't. I said that she is helping to move the story along. I don't think she actually ends up getting to tell anybody about the Nazi thing.
No, she
I don't
doesn't.
think her knowing that actually.
No,
I
because
think
they already
just gives the audience something.
They tell the FBI and Howard Hughes tell him and
Yeah.
Alan Arkin.
Okay, I'm gonna say it. I think that little girl is playing a character who is like 4 or 5 years younger than that actual actress.
I think she is too. Yeah.
I think she's like 13 or 14.
think
And
she
she's
is,
supposed to
too.
be 9.
Nine,
I think that's what's happening there.
Right. Remember me.
I remember that voice. Except for the part where if you sneeze, you die.
Yeah.
You ever think about that?
Yeah.
Like, the head is a rudder, so if
Right.
you did this, then you'd
Right.
be in free fall.
Right. There's the gum again.
Oh, yeah, and that's a setup
Yeah.
for the ending. Yeah.
That was a real gum. Beeman's was chewed by
Interesting.
aviators back in the day. Because in the movie The Right Stuff, Chuck Yeager, like there's a reoccurring thing where he's asking the guy that is helping him launch and stuff, you got any Beemans? Loan me some. I'll pay you back later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It also turns out that your rocket pack is a phasing cloak.
Phasing cloak.
So, this is...
You have violated the Treaty of Algernon.
the Treaty of Algernon.
Yeah. Exactly.
Flowers for the Treaty of Algernon. but this has got
I love
to
this
be...
part. Oh my god, this
I know,
part
it's
is
wonderful.
so great.
But this has got to be the most, benign and noble portrayal of Howard Hughes in, like, the history
exactly.
of cinema, right?
Compared to how he was portrayed in The Aviator.
Because this guy is, like... The power did not corrupt this guy.
No.
This guy is...
Also, the mental illness has not occurred yet. This part's so great.
The other thing I meant to mention, because I was about to talk about Captain America: First Avenger, is that obviously Howard Stark is based on Howard Hughes,
Right.
and is basically this character,
Right.
except oddly a little more flawed than this guy,
Right.
so closer to the real Howard Hughes.
Exactly.
So yeah, this animation is brilliant.
They must have, they have the Disney animators.
It is.
Yes.
It is just what this would have looked like.
I know, it's perfect.
It's very period accurate. It looks like a Fleischer thing.
Yes, it does. Even though it's supposedly made by the Germans.
Well, but they loved our cinema, so
That's
they would
true,
be
too.
looking at what we were doing.
That's true, too.
Today,
Look at
Europe,
that.
tomorrow, the world.
Today, Europe. It's a today, Europe. Tomorrow, the world.
The world, that's
The
right.
world.
Yeah. I mean, I took German in college, but I still would have been able to read that.
Yes.
It was still
That's
pretty clear
good,
what that said. Yeah. I like the conflict here a lot, where he's standing up to Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
And he's very sympathetic. It makes him seem very noble. Like obviously, he's trying to save his girlfriend,
Right.
and he's also just wanting to do the right thing, but.
Right.
He's also such a naive kid
Right.
and thinks he can pull this off.
Right. He just disses them to their faces. I love.
it sounds less goofy that it's Neville Sinclair after the speech that Howard Hughes just gave.
Right.
Where he's like, it's somebody really high up. Oh, it's Neville Sinclair.
Right.
No, that's ridiculous. You just said it's somebody really high up in
He
Hollywood
gets
society.
He gets
One of
on
my
the
favorite scenes.
Spruce Goose. Yes.
And then Howard Hughes goes, oh, it does fly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although, what's really funny about this to me is that I don't really know what the point of that was. Because, like, he could have just ran down there at about the same time that he, like, wrote on
That's
that.
true.
Like, it didn't really do anything for him.
There it goes.
This movie
I
has...
used to have a styrofoam airplane model that when I was little, and it reminded me of that.
Yeah. So there's some of that da-da-da here in a second.
Okay.
When there's like the scene where he's coming in and the camera kind of goes in between Eddie's men. Yeah, see? Da-da-da. But that was in Wrath of Khan when the Genesis device was beginning its countdown.
You're right. Okay.
I don't know how these guys got in here. The Nazis that are hiding in the park. Somehow they got there. I don't know.
Completely understand how Neville Sinclair managed to infiltrate as well as he did.
Maybe he wasn't always a Nazi and they turned him. I don't know.
No, that's not true, and you know why?
Oh, because he's a German at the end.
Because he has the accent.
He has the German accent.
Yeah.
That's true. So he was pretending. Yeah.
So you're wrong, Adam.
Yes, that's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, how did he get to that station?
Right.
Like, did he murder the real Neville Sinclair? I don't think that's what happened. And he would have had to have become that big of a celebrity in just a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But he's made several movies.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible for somebody to become like a box office smash that quickly, but
he would have had time to make as many movies as he made. And I mean,
right.
well, now to be fair, stars made more
they were
movies
cranking
back
out
then.
movies back then, and the studio system.
They were under contract and stuff.
That's right. Well, and we still have studio contracts now, I think.
But it's not like it was back then.
It's not like back
basically
then. Yeah,
servitude almost and stuff.
Well, they were talking about like Clark Gable and stuff. Those kinds of actors would be cranking out like 3 movies a year.
Right.
It was crazy. Some of that is because it took longer. I think it took longer to make movies later.
Yeah. It's late. We're cold.
Got better things to do.
It's got to be 4 a.m. now.
Well, what I'm trying to decide right now is which accent I want to use. That's...
There it is.
And then when Dalton starts doing a German accent, it's a pretty good accent.
Yeah, it is.
At the very least, he stays in it.
I like this part. When he says, "It matters to me. I may not be an honest buck, but 100% American."
Oh, yeah. That is a good line.
I don't work for two-bit Nazi. And then he goes on the side of the FBI at the end. They're like, "Let's shooting."
It's such a good script.
And he yells some random German. I don't know what it means. Yeah. Yelling in German, according to the subtitles here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, giving the audience credit in this movie. And one of the ways that we do that is we don't feel the need to put subtitles on the screen to tell you what any of the German means.
Right.
Because it's not important. We know what the motivations are now. We'll have a whole conversation in German on the Zeppelin that they don't feel the need to tell us what they're saying.
Yeah. He's clearly calling his weird little German minions that are wearing hoodies. Yeah.
But even when they have that conversation with Zeppelin, I don't know exactly what they're saying, but I don't need to know. It's not important.
And there it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
This was of course foreshadowed earlier in the newsreel.
In the newsreel.
Watching.
And Jason picked up on that and was like, "Oh, that's cool, Dad. That was in the newsreel." Yeah, he picked up on that.
Look at that.
As far as I'm concerned,
you can't make that look better now.
I mean, that's fantastic.
You can't make that look better now.
Zeppelins are an underappreciated technology as far as I'm concerned, because they were doing things that you just don't think you.
Yeah,
when
but
you
they
think
broke
back,
up a lot, and like storms and things.
I
They were
understand that.
It was
but
the
they-
Titanic
they
problem.
Still, they
No reason
still
for something
have
that
them. They still use them in some context.
Yeah,
but
they
they're-
use they do.
Granted,
Happy Valentine's Day
Happy
is one of my
Valentine's
favorite
Day.
lines.
I forgot about
Because Brandon, it's the Valentine gang,
Yes.
and then
Oh,
he goes,
yeah.
and then he
Happy
goes, "Happy
Valentine's. I
Valentine's
love
Day."
that.
That's a great line.
Nice.
What a good one-liner. Now, I
And
will
they
say
threw-
that's more of a '90s
I
one-liner
know.
than a '38 one-liner,
They
but it's
threw-
really good.
They threw look at that. He just picks up the machine gun. He blows up a bunch of.
Oh, he turns sides fast.
I know. And he's like lined
That's
up with the
true.
FBI guys and stuff.
I want to talk about lighting again.
Yes.
It's really good.
Well, they're the searchlights for the observatory.
I know.
Like it was great. They threw them on.
They're thinking about that all over this.
Yeah. Oh. That's great. I guess he just sacrificed all his men. Oh well. For the
look.
fatherland.
look at
This comes up later.
the Joker making his fabulous escape.
That's right. Yeah. Except there's not any gargoyles.
Nope.
So we're not gonna be able to rope his legs up with gargoyles.
They're wearing down. Did you see all like the feathers that were flying everywhere when they were getting hit?
And the other thing that reminds me of Batman, Brandon, not that movie,
Yeah.
but just regular Batman stuff, is
sure.
the fact that we're in an airship.
I like
Right.
this. I love
Because
this.
Gotham's always got airships.
I love this Gestapo toady guy that they got here. But we must lose some weight.
Oh, yeah. Well, you've always got to have that guy
Yeah.
with the glasses. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
He reminds me of the
that
guy
German
who
guy's
melts
always there.
in the arc,
Yes.
the arc.
Tote.
Oh, yeah.
Tote
yeah, yeah.
was his name.
You know, there's a lot of Indiana Jones in this
Yeah.
movie, isn't there?
Well, I mean that's a similar time frame too.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's the same time frame, yeah.
Right.
And Zeppelins.
Zeppelins. And there was in the third one there.
Yeah,
Zeppelin.
he was in a Zeppelin.
Yeah,
Right.
like obviously they're being influenced a lot by that, but it feels more like they're being. I mean, they are, but the movie watches like they're being influenced by the same serials that
Right.
would have been influenced by. It's authentic enough that I think if you went back in time and
Right.
put this movie in a movie theater,
Yeah.
it would feel very familiar to an audience, but they would
Right.
be marveling at the effects and couldn't figure out how you did most of it.
Right. He just lit the American flag on fire.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any kind of symbolism going on there, Adam.
I don't know.
I want to think not because
This looks
the,
great.
the money shot that you always think about with this movie is Rocketeer standing by that flag,
Yes.
and like he's supposed to be a kind of a patriotic
Yeah.
hero. I guess even though this is not a guy that's thinking at all about politics.
So he just.
You know what I mean? This guy's not thinking about.
He's just thinking about saving his
Yeah.
girl at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
He just disconnected the rudder, and then you see the guy inside here trying to turn the wheel.
But I mean, obviously, he's he's an anti-fascist guy,
Yeah,
certainly.
right.
I mean, he's patriotic enough to
They-
go Nazis are bad, I guess.
So why would you advertise your Nazi airship above the United States like that?
It was supposed to be a goodwill tour. It was back when we thought Hitler maybe
Oh, is
wasn't
that-
so bad.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
keep in mind we're not in the war yet.
That the war hasn't
And
Okay.
earlier on, I mean, we were talking, so you probably didn't get to hear it. But in the newsreel at the beginning,
yeah.
you have that whole spin where the announcer guy is like, "Oh, Hitler is on a mission of peace."
Yeah, it
And
says goodwill
Right.
tour.
his goodwill tour.
I did forget that.
This is great because this is how Zeppelins really were. Was they would have these gas bags, but it wasn't one big gas bag. It was like individual cells inside this metal frame with a canvas around them. So there was like room for people to actually climb up through a hatch like that and stuff.
I love that he took that one to put on a tool belt. So
Yeah,
he could
he's like-
pull out a
he's
big
gotta be
ass
safe.
wrench. That's hilarious. Just pulls out this giant wrench.
I would imagine that this would be.
You thought it would be a
extremely
gun?
Difficult to do on an actual Zeppelin.
Yeah, but it's a movie. And
Well,
you gotta
you
have this
never
kind
know.
of movie physics. And this is another big superhero trope where we always have to have a big climax with two people fighting on top of something really
I mean,
high in
this-
the sky with no
Right.
railings where somebody's going to get knocked off.
But this looks so real. It's crazy. Oh,
And
there
a
goes the
lot of
pilot.
people
He said the
get
pilot.
killed.
No.
And this is probably also one of the first times you see a female love interest murder someone.
I know.
Because
Well,
that happened. If I remember that
This
right,
one-
doesn't she push somebody
yeah,
out?
She does.
I guess Lois Lane does it in Superman 2, but we don't really know where Ursa is going.
Right. He's more.
There's a scene they cut where they come out the other side, outside. So yeah,
and he goes, "Father."
That guy wasn't even in the movie long enough for us to care they got shot and thrown out of the Zeppelin.
Look at this ridiculous guy. What is he wearing? He makes it 2 steps before dying.
Hey, can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah.
Why would you bother shooting a man before you throw him out of a Zeppelin?
Good question.
Why would you
just
shoot a man and then throw him out of a plane?
Yeah. Over the rocket.
So here's a good question.
Okay. It's not a great accent. It's a very cartoonish accent, but at least he stays in it.
It works fine. Yeah.
So I want to know what the Rocketeer's end game would be, because he's going to hand over the rocket and get the girl, and then he's going to be standing on the airship. He's got nowhere to go.
He doesn't know how to fly it. He can maybe get it low and jump out.
I give it the possibility that he could fly it, because he's an airman himself.
Yeah, sure.
But he's just going to be on this Zeppelin,
right, where to land.
Yeah.
This will also be one of the most entertaining bad guy deaths in anything.
Love this part.
It's really funny.
Yep.
This is when she kills him.
And then she's going to kill this guy. Yep, and he's gone. None of those. Oh, good line!
I do my own
Where's
stunts.
your stuff?
I do my own stunts.
I love it.
Yeah, the one-liners in this are all good.
And if this was it's good not to have hair.
If this movie had been as popular as it should have been,
it's good not to have hair.
There are a couple of things that people would have been quoting all along.
Right.
From this movie.
And this lattice kind of stuff that is made, the steel.
Yeah.
That's how Zeppelins really looked on the inside. It was really made out of that kind of.
Yeah, there's really nice attention to detail. I think it's interesting that the end of this movie takes place. I need a flare gun and some flare. I think it's really interesting that this movie takes place. That the climax of this takes place in a Zeppelin,
right?
And the climax of First Avenger takes place in a aircraft carrier, with all those planes with the missiles. You remember that,
right?
And now you got a burning control panel.
I don't want to say he made that movie again, but there are a lot of things about it where you can almost make the argument that First Avenger was making this movie again.
Right.
And, he was, this director was the right guy because it was such a similar kind of thing. Right. But I think he pulled a lot of stuff from this that just fit well in that.
Right. There it is.
Yeah, he's just Clayface.
So he really has no idea how to fly this.
Yeah, he doesn't have the helmet, so what's he going to do?
Oh, that's a good point, too.
He shouldn't be that comfortable on this.
He shouldn't even know how to use it.
Oh. There it goes. Oh, boom! There it goes.
Hollywood land.
Hollywood land.
That's
fantastic.
Fantastic.
Oh, that
so good.
I love how that supposedly explains why it just now says Hollywood.
And this is crazy that this guy is still alive because he must have hoisted himself back up on the tether that was he had latched himself to.
See, I want to think that Cliff is so impulsive, and
there he is.
Oh, you know what? This part of the score sounds like an Elfman score.
Yeah.
This sounds like 89. You hear that?
Yeah.
That sounds like Batman 89.
Wait, he had a knife? Why didn't he use that when he was using the wrench?
Why didn't you lead with that?
Ooh.
Didn't he have a gun, too? Why didn't he just shoot him?
There goes.
I guess maybe he was careful about
up there,
about putting holes in
altitude like a mother. Right
that's a good point. But yeah,
this is crazy.
I want to think
that thing's called an auto gyro.
Weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think Cliff had a plan.
I don't think he did either.
I think he's just kind of running off a lot.
Like Indiana Jones, he was making up as he goes along, but even less so.
I also want to read the impulsiveness into his name and say that this is a guy that leaps off of cliffs without looking.
Yeah. And you gotta get there. Right to the end.
Don't call him Clifford. Then he just sounds like a big red dog.
Yeah, I feel like.
So if you had a Zeppelin,
luckily no one died from this. Oh my god!
Right outside of Hollywood, it's fine. It's just on the mountain.
Can I just say, if you had a Zeppelin going up in flames like that, the updraft from the heat rising from this thing that plane could not have flown in that heat rising. Whatever that gyro.
Auto gyro.
Yeah.
You know, the more we look at it, that Doghead place is creepy.
You wouldn't want to live inside a
I
Doghead.
I mean, that's got to be a
weird.
real building, right? Look at it. I mean, it looked like a real place.
It's astounding to me if they built that, and then I want to know who thought of that.
Right.
Why is it a dog head? I want to read some kind of symbolism or something in the story with the dog head. I got nothing. I don't know what the dog head is doing in this movie thematically. I guess nothing.
He said flaming debris fell on his touring car.
But yeah, I want to know what she does after this.
Right.
Like, does she still pursue an acting career? Like, she has proven herself that she's really good at it.
Right.
And does she learn anything about Hollywood itself from this, or does she think of that as an isolated incident?
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, there's commentary about Hollywood in this, but the
Right.
big, scary Hollywood bad guy is just a Nazi.
Right.
That's not really saying anything about Hollywood.
Right. Did he just drive this down the road? Is it just
He's Howard Hughes. He can do whatever he wants. He's eccentric, and everybody just accepts his eccentricities. You wish that you could get away with being that much of an egomaniac, Adam. I also want to know what Cliff thinks that he's doing with that plane before he reveals that he's giving it to him.
Right.
Because he's walking away and leaving it, and Cliff still has not put two and two together.
Right.
This guy is just really slow on the updraft.
I know.
He's really slow on the updraft, Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the updraft. I like it.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait,
Pepsi
what?
gun.
Like he's getting in a car and leaving the plane. What do you think he's doing with this plane?
There it is.
There's that Sting from Field of Dreams again.
Yeah. Yes, James Horner does plagiarize himself a lot.
Well, everybody does. I mean, a lot of these.
But Horner was very egregious about it sometimes.
So was Elfman.
Yeah.
Elfman as much
That's
or
true.
more so. I know I've said this a billion times in commentaries, but nearly every Elfman movie, especially from the early 90s, from this period, you hear Making Christmas in the score. Somewhere you're going to hear Making Christmas, it's just everywhere. Batman Returns has it, everything has it.
Do you buy that she's not completely traumatized by the experiences of late?
I don't know. I think she's made
Brandon, I can see why you'd say that, but I'm going to say no because she kept her wits about her and had such a head on her shoulders.
Okay,
Killed a guy,
yes,
Brandon.
You're right about
And
that.
she did murder a guy. That's
But that
true.
should be the shock to the system, right?
I murdered that poor German pilot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying murder because it's funny. Like, it was self-defense. It's not murder. I get that. But she did kill
still,
that guy.
Like, I mean, if you killed somebody in self-defense, you might be thinking about it for a few days.
There you go.
Yeah, I think the other argument for what they did with that, Brandon, is that this is the Hollywood ending. This is the 1938 Hollywood ending.
It is. And it makes a good wrap-up in that sense.
Adam, do you
William
wish
Sanderson.
and maybe I'm reading too much into this, into the whole, like, it's trying to be a movie from that period thing, but if it is indeed doing that as much as I think it is, do you wish, Adam, that they had gone all the way and had all the credits up front, like a movie from that time period? Instead of having the regular
maybe.
scrolling at the end? That would have been cool.
And they really, back in that time, they did show a lot of credits up front. But they also did do a little card at the end.
Usually the card at the end was just the cast.
One card. Yeah, they didn't really show any of these people back in the day because they weren't worth it. Yeah, but
that's a good point.
So I don't know about
with all
rules.
All the special effects people, how would you give them credits? You would have had to sit there for 9 minutes.
I don't know how they would have done
Not that long, but
right.
yeah.
And there's also probably maybe union rules now about how people are credited on movies. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, okay, I get what you're saying, but I have seen movies after this that will do that.
Really?
That will in trying to be like old school,
We'll
they'll
do the
put
whole
all
thing.
the credits
Wow.
up front.
Wow.
And then you'll still have some credits at the end, but it's not nearly as many as
Right,
you really
right,
have.
right.
It's probably more than just an actor card like you're talking about.
Right.
But I would have had more of the credits in the front of the movie.
Right.
And even at this time, we sometimes would have movies where you had a lot more of the credits up front.
Right.
This movie doesn't do a lot of that. Most of the credits are in the first scene, people walking around.
So ILM did the special effects for this.
And it shows.
Yeah.
Who else at that time could make it look as good as it? It holds up. It holds up like Jurassic Park holds up.
Right. And this is
maybe not quite that much, but that's because there's so much flying around and stuff.
Right.
Like, some of that, obviously, the seams are showing a little bit.
And this was right before the CGI revolution and stuff.
Yeah.
This was still optical everything at this time, matte paintings and stuff.
Thank goodness, because some of that stuff at the end would look like horrible if you did it that way.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't.
I'm going to assume the rotoscoping credits are for the Nazi cartoon.
Yeah, and they also rotoscoped the Rocketeer into like some of the flying scenes too. I think.
Did they really?
He's got. That's how they would.
Is there some animation?
Well,
no, because they have a whole section for Nazi animation there.
Right. Maybe not. It was just that's how they would do it, where you would have live action and then put on to a way to do. Yeah.
I once looked up how they did rotoscoping at all, and while I don't remember how it's done, I do remember it being fascinating enough to go look up again.
Yeah.
It's really an interesting process.
Zeppelin captain.
So
died.
I have to assume that there's a lot of model work in this movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not noticing it because everything looks really real, but like the Zeppelin at the end where you were commenting on that
South Seas
shot.
Mermaid. There's somebody in the tank. Lori Lynn Roth died on the set of this film.
One mermaid was killed during the making of this feature. Okay. I'm going to go on record to say I do not understand what is going on with the mermaid.
Yeah.
It's just a really ritzy nightclub, right?
What we're saying is, how is she alive in that tank?
She was like,
she's floating in that tank. Does she like? It's so elaborate. What would have to be going on there? She's got to be like, she's got a breathing tank. Yeah. She's breathing air through a tank.
Maybe the water level's not as high because we never saw her.
No, her face was down. Her head was underwater.
We did
her
too,
hair
Brandon.
was floating
the whole
like
thing is
this.
a tank with water all the way to the top.
Completely top.
She could be up and down.
It was like the problem.
There's no way.
It was the whales in Star Trek 4
absolutely
all over
was.
Again.
No, Brandon, there's no way. They showed you the top
die?
of it. The water goes all the way to the top. There's no way. Well, that was fun.
Yes.
And Adam, thanks for coming over and doing that with me. And Brandon, I'm glad you were able to make it too.
We should do Flight of the Navigator.
I've done a rewind on that. And
does not hold up very well.
It doesn't. I have lots of things to say about that movie.
Yeah.
It
doesn't hold up?
No, not at all.
No.
I want to watch that again and The Explorers.
We'll do it sometime if you want to. That is a movie.
I'd rather watch The Explorers though.
Flight of the Navigator. You've been trying to get me to watch that forever, and I just cannot make myself care. But if you really want to do it, we'll do it at some point. Anyway, no. Flight of the Navigator is, and I said this in the rewind, but it is 2 movies, and the second movie is terrible.
Okay.
Or at least it is 2 halves of 2 different movies that don't go together.
Right.
The first half is a different
movie.
The first part's
great.
And
when
then
he's like, when he goes through time.
Because the premise of that movie should be: kid goes in space, comes back. Everybody is 10 years older. How does he acclimate back to life when he's the same age that he was?
I know.
That should be the movie. And then they forget about that whole part of it, and they don't care about that anymore. And then the rest of it is just he gets in
goofy spaceship hijinks
with Space Pee Wee Herman,
and
just flies around
40 minutes, and then it ends.
And then it ends, and that's it. And then like the government is chasing them. And
I guess we can go back in time after all.
Yeah, and then at the end they clap out. They clap out and they go back in time, even though they said that would be a horrible, risky thing to do. Yeah, but there's just a throwaway line about why they can do it now, and then they do it, and then it's not. It's not good. It just doesn't
They
work.
don't even really give a line.
And it
They're
hurt
like,
my
okay, we
feelings.
should just try it. That's what they're like. We'll just try it. See what
No,
happens.
that's right. Oh, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, everybody, thanks a lot for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with you with another commentary soon. We've still got to do Star Trek Beyond. We got that last Star Trek movie to do. And then we'll do some more fun old movie commentaries and stuff for you down the road. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I was Captain Logan. This was Adam Meredith
Yeah.
and Brandon Grimm.
You know it.
Bye, bye, everybody.
Bye.